Hi everyone. You can see I'm wearing the same beanie as a previous case study, which means I probably did those at the same time. Okay, so we're looking at another High Court case today. So this High Court case is about how do we impact the division of lawmaking powers in Australia. Okay, so if we look at the study design today, we can see we're down here, the significance or importance of one High Court case which had an impact on the division of lawmaking powers. So, how have we changed lawmaking powers? Okay, so quick recap on the division of lawmaking powers because it's been a little while. Remember, in Australia, we divide our lawmaking abilities up into three areas. We have exclusive powers. These are lawmaking powers written in the Constitution, given solely to the Commonwealth. So that means the Commonwealth has exclusive ability to do things like coin money or organise the military. Okay, so exclusive lawmaking powers. We have concurrent lawmaking powers. This is lawmaking powers that are also explicitly written in the Constitution, but are shared between the state and the Commonwealth. So things like marriage law and taxation. Both the state and the Commonwealth can make laws on those. Lastly, we have residual powers. These are leftover powers that aren't explicitly written in the Constitution, but have been given to the state after federation. So things like your healthcare, education, crime, for example, are usually state powers. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a case where a woman argued about one section of these powers. And this is quite an old case. It's known as the Brislin case. It occurred in 1935, and it was about a thing known as a wireless radio. Okay, a lot of students don't know what a wireless radio is. It's basically a radio, plays music, is wireless, as you can see here, so battery powered. Okay, so what was the case and how does this relate to the division of lawmaking powers? Well, again, we're going to look at FIDS today, so fact, issue, decision, and significance when we're writing it up. So here's what the case happened, or how the case happened. So the Brislin case basically highlights the significance of the High Court's interpretation of constitutional powers, and it does it in this following way. Ms. Brislin, in 1935, was charged by the government for holding a wireless radio without a license. So at the time, in order to have a radio in Australia, you needed some sort of license. This was contrary to the Commonwealth's Wireless Radio Act of 1905, which said you must have a license in order to own a radio. Brislin, or Miss Brislin at the time, challenged the validity of this act, claiming that it was actually outside the Commonwealth lawmaking ability powers, as radios were considered a residual power and therefore outside the Commonwealth's abilities to make laws. So that's what she argued. However, the High Court considered the concept of Section 51 of the Constitution, which gives the Commonwealth power to legislate on postal, telegraphic, telephonic, and other like services. Okay, so they were looking at this section, and what they did was they interpreted the concept of other like services to broadly include wireless radios because it was a communicative device and it was used for communication purposes. So what the High Court did was it looked at a section and it decided to include wireless radios in this section, which enabled the Commonwealth government to actually make a law in this area. So why is this important, or why is this significant in changing up the division of lawmaking powers? Well, basically, the High Court's interpretation allowed or extended the lawmaking powers of the Commonwealth in this area, and it gained the power to regulate on radio broadcasting. So that means it got more powers than it used to. Okay. The case also paved the way for other like services to apply broadly to other new technologies in the future. Okay, so back then we didn't have television, we didn't have the internet, for example. So what it meant was later on, when we did get these things, it allowed the Commonwealth government to actually legislate on those things. Okay, so it actually increased their powers in other areas. Finally, as it moved something that may have been residual into a definition of a concurrent power. It meant that if a problem did arise where the states tried to regulate on radios and the Commonwealth also tried to regulate on radios, it meant that someone could take that to court and use Section 109 to declare a conflict void and give the power back to the Commonwealth. Okay, so overall, this case was about increasing Commonwealth powers by clearly defining those, or clearly defining areas of law that hadn't previously been defined. More importantly, since the 1920s, there have been a number of other cases which have basically moved federal lawmaking power in favour of the Commonwealth. Okay, so often these interpretations will move favourably towards the Commonwealth. So that is the Brisbane case. Just remember, it was about a wireless radio, and what it did was it led to significant increases in power from the Commonwealth to regulate on things such as Wi-Fi, television, etc. Okay, that's it today. Thank you. Bye.